it's one of those things where, there's a period in around, I would say around 17, 18, where there was this like low key type of movement type thing about the wellness stuff.
Yeah.
And, oftentimes the mothers will always talk about like yoga and, healing and stuff. And, and we didn't have that language back then.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it was brand new. And I just knew how to fight and work out. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so there was this period where I was like, man, maybe I need to do, why everybody got to do some slow stuff and all the somatics and stuff. And then when I got more healed and more clear why I train, it's really to be in your body and to focus. I've been doing it so long, and it's one of those things they can't take from me. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people don't know I can play a lot of instruments.
What?
Yeah, I can play piano, guitar, and everything.
So this is a Columbus Can't Wait exclusive.
Yeah, people.
I didn't know that.
If you were,
what kind of instruments?
No, I sang in Carnegie Hall. I got vocals.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually in high school I tried out for Opera Columbus because I didn't like this guy and he thought he was better than me. I'm like, you ain't better than me. You know what I'm saying? So I sang out Michael Jackson's soundtrack from E.T. because it hits this high E at the end. And so I went in there just for shits, like I'm gonna knock this nigga out.
Yeah.
I sang it, my ass got in. But I never went. I was like, I ain't going to I ain't come back to the streets and say I'm in Opera Columbus. You know what I'm saying? But no,
singing opera is
it's a different,
very technical.
It's a different level.
Yeah.
Different level of creativity and also vocal ranges. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, I can play guitar and piano. I can do all that. I can DJ. I can scratch records. I can do all that. Yeah.
So you're very talented.
I am something.
Yeah. I mean, I think the music thing too is just like.
Yeah.
I know you and I have talked before. Like we've had like some long conversations before, and you've talked about
right now?
Like your parents. Yeah, we're recording.
Shit!
We're on.
Oh shit!
Now everybody knows that you can sing and play instruments. So
don't put
somebody might ask you now.
Yeah, no.
And before we get too far down the rabbit hole, because I love to do that, I'll just talk for 20 minutes and be. By the way, y'all, we have Aramis here.
Yes.
Sundiata.
Yes.
I could probably just also call you by your first name because people know, there's not too many people named Aramis, first of all, but people know you from your long work in the community.
Yeah.
Your work against police violence and mass incarceration and
something like that.
It took a while to get you here.
Well, we are,
but but I'm happy. You are a special guest. Because I think that, we all think about legacy and we all talk about, I think we all want to have a legacy once we're like no longer around.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one thing to already, I think, have made a mark and have a legacy in the city. So I'm just happy to have you on.
No, we're honored to be here for sure. Like, we unite with all the work that, everyone does in the city, and in a sense, and really like Columbus Can't Wait is it. You know what I mean? So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, like so when you invited us, I was thrilled. I was like, yo, we made it. You know what I'm saying? Like we're doing something. It's
wild though, because you were just talking about like how you knew that you were like making something that you were doing with your organizing work and the people that you were organizing with. Like you and Miss Tammy, like you had people started to see the impact of what you were doing. Yeah. And it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. You just, you just build the thing brick by brick.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come with, I mean, I don't have to tell you this, it doesn't come with, it comes with a lot more headaches than it does, quote unquote wins.
Yeah, but on your worst day, I often tell the team, like on our worst day, like we are doing exactly what we want to do every day. You know what I'm saying? And, even though there are things that happen in the work that you can't, plan for, or you don't know it's coming. there could be contradictions that emerge just outside, But when you wake up in the morning, you're like, you have freedom on your mind and you stay disciplined and very consistent and focus on what the objectives are. You never deviate from the plan and you just keep moving forward. We always say forever forward, unafraid together. And so that's real. And so even when, you have those things develop, you know that you at least know that you and a bunch of select people aren't sitting on the sidelines, like we're agents of change and actors in history. You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it. And so, but again, I'm happy to be here.
Do you feel like, what makes you not be able to sit on the sidelines? Like I mentioned a couple minutes ago how we've had like some long conversations and we've talked about kind of how you were raised and your parents. And it seems like you were raised with just like a principle of how to move about the world and what should be important and what should be the things that you should focus on. Can you talk a little bit just about that?
Yeah. So to answer your question about what keeps me from sitting on the sidelines, you can't unlearn what you don't know, and you can't unlearn what you know.
Or unsee.
And once you cross over, it's a river of no return. Once you engage in serious struggle, serious discipline struggle, serious study and practice, and study and practice, you can't go backwards. It's virtually impossible.
Not without it bothering you, right?
Yeah,
like,
you
not
can't.
Without it being.
It won't even come into your mind.
Yeah,
it's impossible. It's your dedication and commitment is so strong that it's an eternal struggle.
Yeah,
you don't run away from it. Again, we don't run away from struggle. We run to it every single time. With the people. You see, and so and it was really like I was telling my father recently, like at the house, like he did some of the things he doesn't know that he did that I kind of make fun of him for, but he doesn't know he actually did it. Many times as a young man, my father would put me in situations where I would have to fight, right? Like I would have to go out there and do what I had to do. But also that he was he made certain decisions in his life where he stayed with us, with my mother, and he dedicated to be a father.
Yeah.
And so there were moments where, I would watch him. I remember watching him get up and go to work in the morning and come home, and go to sleep, and then go to work and come to sleep. And then he built a business and stuff like that. And all I ever known was my father working. So you just go to work, you know what I'm saying? And so when I watch my father move, and he was in ministry, and during those time periods, I was telling him recently, like, you have no idea how impactful it was to grow up in an Afrocentric church and like seeing Black Jesus in Africa and during the Afrocentric period in the early 90s and even like, X hats and kente cloths and all that I stuck hip hop showing, you know what I mean? Like everything was happening at one time and you're observing everything, the crack era, you're seeing all of this stuff happen in front of you. And then it shapes you. It shapes how you move. And then, so he was huge in it. He was very present. Him and my mother, he was very present in my life. And I honestly say that, I wouldn't be here without them for sure. And you don't really know until you know.
Yeah.
When you go around and you work with people and you're a little bit different because like your focus is focused. There's not really anything else that comes to my mind. And, you don't need too much because your cup is full because you were loved by your parents. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So like, I don't need much. I don't,
it's that initial just acceptance.
Yeah. I don't need to go hang out with anyone.
Yeah.
I'm focused on my objectives all the time since I was a young man. And then one of the things my mother did that really To this day, she's like, I didn't know I did that. Like, so my first book report in fourth grade was, I remember going to the library and she walking around and I'm playing with the toys and stuff. She got this book and there was this lady named Harriet Tubman. And I remember reading it. And like, I remember when Harriet got hit in the head with a weight. My mom's works out. And so back then she had weights in the house in a little apartment we had. And she had like a 2-pound weight. And I picked it up, hit my head with it, see how it felt. And I remember like, yo, that had to hurt. Yeah. And then like when she would talk about the Underground Railroad, I would think about like African people literally like going underground and getting on the train, you know what I mean? And all the way through. And there was one moment that really, really changed me was my mom's went to the library and she would go to the library and she would get these like VHS tapes, just get me and my sister like, you know, out of the way and stuff. And there was this 4-disc series and it was called Eyes on the Prize. And I was a young kid. And the first film, of course we know, is the 1950s of the King and Snick and the bus boycott. And I'm watching it. Really didn't move me that much, but I was like, oh, that's cool, you know. Then it got to like the third or fourth one. And I'll never forget. I remember like it was yesterday and on the floor watching it. And I saw these African people in berets with the flags of Free Huey. I didn't know at the time what it was, but they had these flags and in the leather joints and how they were talking and like it just was like, what is that? You know what I'm saying? And watching, now I know who they are, like Bobby Seale, like popping off about this guy named, you know, Reagan and in this place called Oakland. I didn't know, you know, and I would watch that series over and over and over again. And then even as I got older, my mom would just bring like documentaries on slavery and stuff. And I would watch them religiously. Like I'm talking, anytime I had a moment, I would pop them videos in and just sit there and just stare at it. Cause something about, now I know why, but like something about watching people that look like you being explained to you what happened blew my mind. And then what also got me was the resistance of people that looked like me. I didn't really understand at the time, but man, I would wear them little VHS tapes out, like, you know, like.
Listen, I was a religious checker outer of like all kinds of like I loved the library. Yeah. And that it really is like foundational, like your parents.
It really is.
You know, I always talk about, you know, my dad and my dad is a formerly incarcerated person, but he always took me to the library. Yeah. He always put books in my hands. Yeah. He dropped out of school in like the 10th grade, but he always made sure that I had a book or I was reading or
somehow
was
they
educated.
Just knew, like, give them something to read. You know, you might learn something.
And it was like, this is even though I didn't necessarily do these things, this is a requirement for you. Yeah. And I think it does shape your early consciousness. Whatever you consume,
completely
right?
What it is, yeah.
Yeah, if you were consuming that.
All the time. It just tapped into me. It never left, as you can see. Yeah. You know, but it never escaped me. It was always omnipresent in my whole development. Even to this day, I'm obsessed with the study. I find healing in it. Yeah. History makes sense to me. Like it makes sense to see your humanity in it and to be able to articulate it to people in our organizer space, or, you know, if I'm out of town and like I was in Philly and they were asking me about some developments happening in the world. And because I study so much, I'm able to articulate it differently, but it's uniquely me. Like it's a thing that I do, you know.
Do you ever like have one idea about something and then you read something and it totally changes your mind or your perspective?
Not really. Yeah. Most of my study is always the same thing. Yeah. It's always either political theory from the colonial lens,
Right.
you know what I mean? From that,
the theory, right?
yeah, that's from
change.
there, and then
yeah.
African history, Chinese history, you know, revolutionary history in general, post-colonial studies, all that, and so nothing ever really changes. It's when you read it over and over and over again,
you discover something new.
Yeah, you like I will read certain books every year. Like we're doing a study group now, and we're reading Walter Rodney again. Chapter 1, 2, and 3. And every time I pick up, I still feel that like, what? And something else comes out of it because you're in practice.
Right. See and you're saying? Moving along so you're in physical world.
Exactly. So when you're in practice, it's different.
Yeah.
And so little things come out, like even Fanon, concerning violence hits every time differently, every single cycle I read it. Right now, I'm examining this book called colonial law or something, and in there it is heavy, and I'm just like, yo, this is, you know, so like, and
you see it come up, right? You see the same patterns over and over again. Yeah. What book would you say is there a book or books that you feel like, you know, either like changed your life, how you look at the world, or that you think that if somebody is looking to engage in organizing, like books that they should pick up?
See, we're Africans, and so we examine our history through our own worldview. We don't really deviate from that. And it was my professor, Jawanza, many, many years ago. I'll never forget this.
At Ohio State?
Yeah, this brother, he's like my movement father. You know, like I remember coming into his course, and he walked in with these, you know, it was winter, had these tight jeans on and like pants on, and his pants were hiked up, and he came in with his shirt. It had some type of movement thing on, and I was a young man, and he had, you know, the slick hair, you know, how the elders look, you know what I mean? Like he, you know, looked really cool, you know, and he was in class, and he started talking. And then he said, I'll never forget, he said, "What is history?" And I was like, yo. And everyone got it wrong. And he said, it's the change. History is the study of the change over time and space. And then he started going through dialectical materialism at the time. I didn't know what it was, but he spent about 2 weeks on it. And I remember looking at him like, who is this man, right? And then so as the course went on, he would invite the class to these study sessions in the community at the Extension Center. And I remember going, that's when I meet Marshall and Taisha and all these people, and I'm seeing all these people in there.
All these people that are now
leaders, you know what I mean?
In the community.
Yeah, and I'm in there like, yo, what is this? You know, and I'm...
Which is wild that y'all were all in
all of it, yeah, everything is like that. And so when I remember walking up, I'm good to your point with the books in like 2 seconds, it's like, when I went up to, I remember going to his desk and looking at him, I was so scared of him, you know, because he had something I wanted, but I feared him. You know what I mean? It was like, I can take on like 7 dudes off top. You know what I mean? I can take on the police, no hesitation, no worries. But he just, I feared him. And he said, I was like, oh, what book should I get? And he said, which ones do you want? And I was like, all of them. And he was like, start off with these. And so he gave me, of course, Walter Rodney, How Europe Undeveloped Africa, which changed my life. Like I read it all the time, first chapter. In our study group, we do that first chapter all the way through. And then he told me to read Class Struggle in Africa, and then Towards Colonial Freedom, and other pieces by Kwame Nkrumah. And those 3-4 books shaped everything. Because and they're really small, it takes like 45 minutes to read them. But the way Kwame Nkrumah writes about colonialism and the petty bourgeoisie, the class analysis of Africa, and connecting it to the United States, and also Kwame Ture, and all and it takes you around the world. Like that's what the study does to you. Like when you start reading, it takes you around. It's like it takes you to the United States. You got to understand slavery. You got to understand the indigenous people. You got to understand Latin America. You got to understand what's happening in the Caribbean. It pushes you all the way to Europe. What's going on in Europe? What's going on over there in what they characterize as the Middle East, all the way to China, to Russia. It takes you everywhere because you want to know. Because there's no stopping. Because these things are happening, and it's an obsession.
Once you're on the train,
it's an obsession. And so those pieces he gave me to examine, those books have always been the foundation.
Yeah.
Not only my own study, but the organizational study.
Well, and it sounds like how you bring other people into because you have to be, study.
Yes. You have to.
Yeah.
We're not going to knock on doors unconscious.
Yeah.
Period. It doesn't make any sense. Or you'll just be another, canvasser. Mm-hmm. You must have the tools and the weapon of history behind you, especially for African people, especially if you're trying to organize the African working class and oppressed people anywhere. When the canvassers are at the door, they're armed with the tools of study and history. Mm-hmm. So when you're talking about whatever issue, it's colonialism. These are forces we've been contending with. Even if the language looks different, you're inviting them into the revolutionary process.
And the class struggle.
Yes. Is all of that.
So important, right? Yeah, understanding that and understanding the context.
Yes.
So everything that you're saying is resonating so much with me because, and when I think about this current administration, right, and how they're hell bent on like destabilizing, universities, places where, we study. And I've talked a little bit about my background. Like no one, while I came from an incredible, loving family, our study wasn't, we read the Bible. That was like
a good book, though.
Like stuff like that. But my consciousness, even my parents would have conversations with me about what it meant to be Black, right? But the study of all of that didn't start really for me until, I picked up books on my own and things like that and watched documentaries and all the things. But college. And having professors that actually put specific books in my hand, specific films to watch.
Yes.
It radicalizes you. And so it makes sense that, this administration would be trying so hard to destabilize the thing that really gets folks to critically think, especially when you don't have access to the best schools, right? When you're not in 6th or 7th grade and they're challenging you to critically think because maybe your school doesn't even have the resources to support that type of thing. And so when you say that, it just really took me back to my own,
for sure,
having my first Africana studies professors.
Yeah, I mean, the reactionaries, they have a material interest to falsify our history. They rely on the ignorance of the masses, period. It is our responsibility to go and create the conditions and the institutions for it. They can do anything they want, but, our people were enslaved and still reading. Our people, my grandfather was illiterate, still was able to raise my mother. I don't spend a lot of time worrying about them. We're resilient people.
That's
Come
right.
on, you know what I mean? Like I'm not concerned so much about the reactionary forces. I was in the community.
They've always existed.
Yeah, I was in the community recently, and someone was talking about the same topic, and I said, we did not get our history from the school. I got my history from the Black bookstore that's down the block. We always had orators who would tell us. I didn't go to school to hear about Africa. I heard it in the community. So what makes you think?
Because you also knew that wasn't going to be the case regardless.
No. So
I do though want to talk a little bit more about Ohio State because of the past conversations that we've had.
Yes.
It seems like that is where is that where you did you start to think about like building an organization?
No.
What did you start thinking about that?
That was complete.
Or was it anything, right?
It was by the grace of consciousness and God, man. Like I always say to people, during that time period, the right people were at the same location at the right time. in history. It happens all the time. Just like SNCC met each other, or the 64 bus, Freedom Summer. I'm not liking us to that, but I'm trying to like have a context of what it felt like, because,
there were like-minded people.
Yeah,
in the
we were
same
all
space.
there, and we all did Freedom School. Amber was one of my friends in college. A lot of people were on the university campus. We were in protests, and we meet Pranav, and I meet Tammy. It's just random. And so, we all did Freedom School, and we all lived close to each other, and we were all engaged in that with Ohio Student Association. So it just is a glorious time period. Like I look back on it often with so much joy and happiness, even with my professors, even be able to go to the party and like, be around African people from around the world, study with them, and like see people who really like are so serious. Like, these guys are different. I mean, I met people from Soweto and not Colombia, but the Caribbean and UK and Senegal and Mauritania, who were like literally those guys, people who were in exile, you see. And so those lessons are ingrained in you, but when we were first started off, we were just a bunch of dreamers. I remember specifically, I say this story a lot sometimes, when we were all in Freedom School, and we were in this place called, we're in Tennessee, and it was Amber and some folks that we know that are in the room all together, and we were talking about how we're going to have this great summer, and like we're going to organize and then we never thought we would actually do it. That's really tripped me out. That time period of like the heightened phase of BLM, and like doing 12-mile marches with all your friends, and like I had students who were there whose parents trusted us to take their kids there, sleeping on floors and church floors, and marching with some of the Dream Defenders, and like meeting all these people, having just the greatest time, knowing that we're doing something. And but it changes when you really feel, like when Marshawn died, it was, okay, now it's serious. You see what I'm saying? Now it's the struggle. Now we have to really fight, these conditions. And then when you start seeing how the bureaucracy works and the state, and your studies come into existence based off of material reality, and you and your crews are doing all this dynamic organizing and building all these things, it becomes very serious. You see, it becomes very serious. And but no, it's one of those things where I oftentimes tell people, like, I am always humbled when I look at that time period, and like, man, like, I oftentimes say to new leaders, like, I wish I could feel that, like what that felt like. I told someone before, I would give up all of this to have 2 minutes to 2 days to where you are right now, the journey, the beginning stage.
Well, and it was, I think even just that, I always think about it like 2012, 2013 was like you started to feel something coalescing.
It was
changing.
I'm telling you, like, when I say everybody was doing it, that's what it felt like. Your friends were doing it. You're meeting all these people down the street who are doing it. You're in these house meetings. You're in a different city with your people you saw the other day. There was no Zoom. You had to actually talk to people. They had chart paper. I remember being in Beaver Creek, and Comrade Nelson came up, and he was doing a training in the grass. You know what I mean? That type of energy, like everybody was doing it. It felt like in that time that, we were really impacting history. Being in Mississippi with some of the freedom fighters from days past, and you're seeing people that you read about, being able to talk to them. Like, I remember asking Bob Moses, like, so in your book, you know what I'm saying? Like, did that, and they're just walking around, and like being in these places where, you've examined for years, and being in the space and seeing it with your friends, and everyone is just doing it all the way up to PJP. When PJP was formed, PJP was formed to answer the question that was that, because I had a youth organization, I had a youth after school program under OSA, and we would do, I would do study groups, not study groups. I would do after school with the kids, but I'd also do, trainings and discussions at night. And sometimes, community will come, but then also the parents are coming, and the parents are coming outside, and then we had to answer this question, like, what do we do with all this energy? Tammy's coming, all these things. We had to answer the question, how do we house this energy? And it became PJP, and that's when all my friends from university, from the street, joined. I
remember y'all's office on Brighton
Road.
Road.
Man, it was litty. It was crazy. And even I remember Amber, rest in power. I remember Amber, she was in France. And so she missed all of it. And she called my phone. She was like, yo, I heard you doing da-da-da-da. I'm like, yeah, babe, pull up. And she came, and she was being Amber, putting the post-it notes up and doing what she do, and she had two jobs, and I'm like, yo, we gotta put her on sometimes. So all that stuff that was happening in Columbus and also in the state, which is so energizing, and then you just became so dedicated. But one of the things I oftentimes tell people is that you never projected, the level of threats that came with it.
Yeah.
You never thought about death threats and nooses dropped off at your office and reactionary forces really trying to harm you. And we're not sweet now, you know what I mean? We're not, none of that. And so though that level of trauma and things that happen to you in this thing, it's not it's you get a sense of what it may have felt like for those in the past. You
get a taste. Yeah.
You get a sense. And then when people in current history try to play with it, that's what I don't have patience for.
What do you mean by that?
There are people in current history that will make up ideas in their head that they are a threat to the state or the bourgeoisie. They will go around and make grandiose claims that they're being followed, or grandiose claims that, this happened to me, whatever. And I don't have patience for it, because you're not effective. When you're effective is when it happens to you. You're not going around telling anybody. You hold it with your crew. You don't tell no one, because you don't know who knows. You're not posting on the Facebook and Instagrams talking about the feds. If the feds wanted you, they would get you. You see what I'm saying? It's the federal government. You know what I'm saying? And but you're not that.
I don't mean to laugh, but
it's real. It's you're not real. Effective. We know what effectiveness looks like. We know what effectiveness feels like. It is not a tweet or a gram post and your 300 people come out. You don't know. We're talking about community people who know all the people that are at the direct action or the demonstration are all in relationship with each other. We've seen people get taken off of streets. We've seen, we have nooses dropped at office. We've had so many things happen. So when you play with it, I don't have any patience for it. I think it's buffoonery and complete buffoonery. I don't want to swear, but
you can swear if you want to.
No, it's not funny to me, because people have literally, in our organization and others, have literally shed blood.
Literally.
Period. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you want to act like you can walk in my boots? No. You can't be in my Timbs. You don't know what that's like.
Is that one of the ways that, we know that people like that have always existed, yes, right? But how have you seen the landscape change? And what I mean by that is there was a time when there was a small number of people, yes, that you would see all the time that were engaged in this work and like dedicated to this work. And I think, I always bristle when people describe 2020 as, George Floyd.
Yes.
And, may he rest in peace, Breonna Taylor. All of them. But what was happening in Columbus was so real to me that I of course I connected them to that, but I was like, there's been many people who have been murdered, by police officers in particular in Columbus, over decades.
Yes.
And so I never described that time period in that way because those people are very real to me. Like I've obviously like met some of their parents, family members, siblings.
Yes.
But I see that time as like a marker, right? As theirs feels like there was a turning point. And it also feels like in some ways the organizing landscape changed.
Yes.
And I wondered if you felt, I had that question written down because I wanted to ask you about how do you feel that the landscape has changed over like the last 5 years?
It's definitely changed a lot. It took me in the organization a few years to really figure it out. And in the lower 48 of the United States, most organizations we're a part of, like in our national networks and our convenings, and we talk about this. It's like something shifted. It's not just Columbus, but it's everywhere. Where the art and the science of organizing got watered down to an event here, an event there, an Instagram post here, giving out your dates and your routes of what you're doing, and it was, and then you realize that you're a veteran, and that's a trip too.
Getting old?
No, it's like they were talking about that. We was in Philly and they were talking about it, about being veterans of struggle. However, in Columbus in particular, in Ohio at large, our assessment is that, there was also COVID, this is their first time being engaged in political struggle for the first time. And our organization wasn't prepared to absorb because we were rebuilding. In Columbus in particular, we were still healing because of all of the things that happened in the city. So there was a different air and resistance to discipline. And that, I would say, is the main thing.
Resistance to discipline.
Resistance to discipline.
What do you mean by that?
We're not playing.
Yeah.
This is serious struggle. We're not, playing with the lives of African people and colonized people. We're very serious.
Yeah.
When you walk into the room, when you walk into the organization or organizations that we know, this is not playtime. We're not, we're going to give you some work to do and you're going to, it's mostly administration work. You know what I'm saying? It's not, let's have this, what they call it, teach-ins to talk about the things and then like no next steps for the sake of what? Tammy always told us that, for the sake of what? For the sake of what? We're not rah-rah ziskum bombing and playing hopscotch around here. We're not, walking down the street for a parade to say we did something. That's ridiculous, you see. We shed blood for the policy that people are now allowed to walk down the street with no police officers. So it's absurd. It's like if you don't advance the tactics quantitatively and then qualify it, then you're actually doing absolutely nothing. In fact, it's just an organized mayhem. You see, it becomes a situation where you are actually playing into the hands of the the state or the bourgeoisie, because they know you're not going to do anything. They know that you're not going to be effective.
Yeah.
And so we're disciplined, organized. So at the end of the day, you see lack of discipline, lack of focus, lack of wanting to learn the strategy.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? And we come from strategy. We have a long, when we say opportunism is basically saying that, you are reluctant to focus on the long-term play of the revolution, you see. Opportunism is being able to just do something short-term.
Well, you see an end,
yes.
right? And you take the end, but you haven't gone on the journey.
You haven't gone on a journey. It's a journey.
Yeah.
I was never reluctant to ask my professors anything. I was on papers.
Well, then you mentioned also just like the community part, right?
Yes.
I remember just there were several times in the past where, somebody had to vouch for you.
Period.
In order for you to even be granted entry. And it's not about, it's about like what you said about being serious about this and safety. Right? Safety is actually the paramount piece of this, right? And even just to the safety part, like, how do you feel that you and others work in PJP and other organizers how do you see a culture change in Columbus? Do you see a change in, there hasn't been as much policy change, right? But a change in the way that the police department, for instance, the way that they move in terms of how they handle citizens.
The state's a state. It's still a repressive force no matter what they do, you see? And so,
I feel like there's we know someone is watching.
Yeah, for sure. And then
I think that matters.
Yeah, it matters. And also we know at the organization we know that there is people are doing good work for real. Like, I'm not going to front. But we know what we do. Yeah. And we know it takes time. We have plans and it's coming. You know what I'm saying? And so change is constant
and slow.
And so
but I will say, like, for me, I do think that I definitely have seen a change in posture.
Yeah, for sure.
We understand that we are being, as much as we're surveilling people are also watching the way that we're handling Black folks in this city.
Yeah, they want to come in
color.
We are public people.
Yeah,
there's nothing you can do that you haven't already done to us.
Yeah, So you talk about plans. What's the plans that you can talk about publicly on this show? Like, what is when y'all think about, the future of PJP, when you think about 2025, we are in, it feels like, I don't know. Well, before I was coming here today, I felt really tired.
Yes.
And I felt glad that I was like interviewing someone that I could express kind of my feelings about that, because I get very emotional when I think about what I felt like was some level of like touching some level of progress, and then to see kind of where we are right now sometimes feels really debilitating, because it feels like, why, what am I doing this for? But then, like, as you mentioned, I think that the people before us went through so much worse that I don't like sit in those feelings, but I do think about it a lot. But I also like feel like there's such areas of opportunity right now for us to really become more free. But it's going to be tough.
Oh yeah, freedom.
I think when I start thinking about how hard it's going to be, then I'm like, oh man, because for somebody like me, I started engaging 21 years old. I'm not 21 anymore. I got some gray hairs coming.
I know that's right.
And to be like to even think about that is it's like, oh, this really, they were serious. This is lifelong.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So yeah, that was a long way of me saying, like, one, I think, do you ever feel that way? And then two, just like talk a little bit about like the plans for the organization going forward.
I don't really ever feel that way. I have faith in the people.
Yeah.
Again, our study heals us, and we've done this before. It's not the first time, and it's a continuous struggle. You look at Sahel states in Africa, you're looking around the Latin America, you're seeing all these things happen in response to the constriction of colonial rule and hegemony around the world. You're seeing it happen in real time everywhere you look.
I think it's my maternal self.
Huh?
I think it's my maternal self that makes me like sad about where we are right now. Sometimes scared about the future. It's like, when I think about like my daughter, you know what I mean? The world that she might inherit, then I feel two separate feelings. I feel hopeful and I feel really scared. And I feel like that perhaps is where those feelings.
Well, let her know that there are people in struggle for her.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's really what it is, Mm-hmm. I have faith in the people. I have faith in the process. I have faith in knowing that at least I know that around the planet, you're seeing the political economy shift into a more liberated future for African people in the current board of the United States and on the continent of Africa and everywhere else with colonized people in the global south.
And a rise of consciousness,
yes,
too.
It's all around you. You just have to be able to see it and remove yourself from some of the noise coming from the bourgeois media that's trying to feed you garbage. Because after time, they're lying to you. They want you to have a fear and material relationship to this rise of this question of fascism all the time. It's like, you don't need fascism for African people to be enslaved. You don't need fascism for us to be shot in the street. What are you talking about? Just fascism is a question of concentrated capital.
These are normal conditions.
Yeah, these are normal conditions. We're still in struggle. We're still fighting for freedom and power. That's what we're doing all the time since we stepped foot on the Western Hemisphere. Do not get confused. So with the organization, we're bringing the organized revival. That's what we're doing. It's called the Fellowship. We're bringing the study group back, going back to the root of our struggle, hitting the street, bringing our partners around the state in August to do a deep canvas. We're working with national orgs coming up to Columbus.
So when you talk about educating your organizers and not just to be just canvassers.
No.
So right now, that's what y'all are doing.
Yes. As we speak, as of tomorrow, it's going to happen again. We're trying to build working class intellectuals.
Yeah.
You see, that's what works. Always works with African people and colonized people. We do not have the privilege to just knock on the door and say, some type of script that you didn't create with us. We create together, through study.
That's the only thing that works.
It's the only thing.
It's that co-creation.
Yes, that's it.
Relational.
It is the highest form of democracy is self-determination, my sister. And that's it. And so that's what we try to bring in the organization. And, I'm honored to be able to be a part of it with the new crew, who all are dedicated to building Black power. All of us are, and the canvassers and the volunteers and the interns, and see the joy they have to like bring that movement field to the people in real time. That's one of my biggest ambitions is to have, you asked the question previously about the question of what has changed, the new folks coming in haven't felt movement before, the chart paper, the coffee burnt, you know what I mean? Like the lights not working, the smell of an office, and one of our interns walked in the door in our new office and said, yo, and how her face That's what I want to see. It's like, this is it, and this is where this stuff happens. The chart paper, the meetings upon meetings, the strategy upon strategy, the meetings upon meetings, those type of things. Mm-hmm. That's what I feel is missing. The discipline is required there. The building of strategy together is the teams, the unity, the community, the relational building. Mm-hmm. That's what has been missing in our struggle, especially in this city, where, we had to deal with other contradictions of COVID and, other things we could not control. But 225 is a new day, so it's an organizing revival. That's what it is, bringing that type of focus, absorbing people who want to be a part of the revolutionary process, together. And building Black power and how we understand it, and talking to people at doors, those type of things. The root of our struggle has always been that relational, because we should not be afraid of our people. Mm-mm. I love us, man. Mm-hmm. I love how we love each other. I love like going to the gym and going there and they say, you call me international. And I say, you're international. So what's happening over there now, brother? The waist will drop. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or like the sister that told me to put my coat on, and she's African, elder. And I'm like, yeah, I love us. I love how when we're organizing in national spaces and we just like sit down and just chop it up, and like we don't spend a lot of time on the breakout rooms. We all want to talk to each other and see how we're doing, because we've known each other for a long time. Mm-hmm. And so that type of stuff, that a love we have, piece. It's a
collective.
I feel like I know that at the end of the day, me personally, I am so humbled and honored to be able to be in space with some of these brilliant minds. Like, my board is some of the most powerful sisters I've ever met in my life. And
yeah, you got Rhiannon on that board.
Yeah, I mean,
to name one.
Yeah,
but I mean,
yeah,
when you're talking about powerful, brilliant Black women,
yes,
I mean, she's definitely at the top of my list. And just, even just seeing her trajectory, when you're thinking about just like, when you have these young organizers, just like, and in particular, even just Black women, how do you like nurture folks through this whole process?
Black women?
Yeah.
Have them meet other powerful Black women. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you want to know who my friends are?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and one of the things is like,
are there things that you feel like you can't?
Oh, I can't.
Yeah.
No. I'm just a cabin. I'm just a bridge.
The vessel.
The bridge. I'm like, okay, you want to get down? Don't talk to me, because I am a cis het tough guy. Like, I'm really that. Mm-hmm. So, and I want to build an organization. But my friends, though, and I'll have them meet the board.
You recognize your limitations.
Yeah, 100%. I'm a goofball. And also this is another thing too, I'm very, this is, people who know me will know this. Like, I melt with young sisters. Like, I can't
you talked about discipline and all those things. You can't be. Okay.
It's my kryptonite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you need to go over them, because like, I'm going to treat you differently. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I was a teacher, I have a little sister, I'm going to treat you like a sister to me, like a sister. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to protect you. You know what I mean? I'm going to do all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be, I can pour what I have into you, but I can't do what, say, Dawn does, or Chelsea does, or Brittany does, or Rhiannon does. Like, they do that. I mean, every time one of our leaders meet one of the board members or one of the powerful that I talk about, they're like, whoa, because I know they never seen someone like that. Mm-hmm. Like Sierra upstate in Freedom Block. Yeah. I remember Sierra met one of them one time, and she called me on the phone like, I ain't never met someone. She said, so hold on, honey, how are you doing? okay, like, how are you showing up? You know how the sisters be in the movement. And I know they never seen people like that, you know, or even how Rihanna shows up. She's unassuming when you meet her, but you don't know she's the most powerful motherfucker in this fucking state. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and I'm honored all the time. I'm always honored to, I feel so privileged to be around them, because like some of them I just learned so much from them, you know, and especially like the board girls, like how they like, you gotta have those who hold you accountable, but on that like brother sister level, like, yo son, you know what I'm saying, get your shit together, you know what I mean, or we gotta make this move, or you know I'll pull up, you know, so that type of love. And I mean, they're so brilliant. I mean, I feel like I shouldn't even be around them half the time. You know, I'm just like, I'm not like that. You know what I'm saying? Like this, some of the leaders I'm around, who I get to spend time with, I'm a big fan of. You know, I'm like, how did I even, what? You like me?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's the journey.
Yeah, it's like you feel a little imposter syndrome. You know what I mean? Because you watch
I feel
how
that way a lot.
Yeah, it's like, what?
I'm like, why am I in here?
Yeah,
but it's again, it's the journey that's you know personally meant for you, set forth for you. So I try not to question that too much, because it's like, honestly, if I'm in here, I'm supposed to be
that part. I'm cool,
you know
like being in certain rooms, but like with them, like I remember many years ago we were doing this. They wanted to do this panel. Some of the folks we had, it's called the Black Freedom Collective, and you know, they were all on a call and they were like, "Oh, we want Aramis to I'll be on the panel." I'm like, no, I don't want to be on the panel. I'm like, we can put someone else there. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, you're doing the panel. We need to talk about that Black Power stuff. I'm like, nah, but they pretty much voluntold me, because I felt inadequate to be on the panel with them, because I felt like, yo, you guys are so ill. And so when we did the panel, and you know, I'm there and I'm watching them nod their head and like stuff like that, I'm just talking, you know, it felt like, okay, maybe they do like me, you know what I'm saying? And like, you know, they call me nicknames, call me the professor and stuff, and like in some of the rooms they'll say stuff to me, and it's just, I'm starting to slowly accept that people see our work, and people see us, and people love us, and love what we do. And we do a particular thing that people respect in the ecosystem. So,
and we talked about this a little bit before. You know, this show is also, I mean, we've been talking about politics this entire time.
Politics,
but how do you see your relationship or lack thereof with the current politicians
in this city,
in Columbus?
I don't think about them at all.
Yeah.
I mean, for what? You know, I mean, we all make choices.
Yeah.
They made choices. You know,
that's fair.
You know, I don't know what that's like to be over there.
Yeah. I often hear, I'll just interject a little bit, because I often hear people say, well, in order for me to get, you know, people who might be trying to get some particular thing done in the city, and this is not just in Columbus, this is just in general, but I have to go through this person in order to get this thing that I want. This is, you know, this is the route that I'm going to take. And I mean, I think it just depends on what power looks like for you, right? And like how it functions. It's like, what kind of power are you trying to get or gain?
We built Black power.
Yeah.
Defeating culture house ourselves. We're about self-determination. We understand that we are confronted with forces based off of enslavement and colonialism that defines our reality and our demands. We're not confused. You know, so when you have that position in organization, organization determines everything, period. You know, organization is the only way we've ever achieved anything. We had to shed our blood in this country through organization. There was no politician that like freed us. We freed ourselves.
So what you're saying is politicians aren't the key.
No, it never have been. We had to shed blood for you to even be there. And then you made certain decisions to be associated with the neo-colonial ruling class. Come on.
Yeah.
We're not confused here. We're students of history. We know your position. Our job is to push the people to a higher level of consciousness. See, we always say revolution is only a question of people's consciousness catching up to material conditions. Oftentimes it lags behind. That's where we come in, you see. We're not concerned so much about who's in office. You got a couple years.
When people don't see a change in their material conditions, it doesn't a meaningful change. It doesn't matter.
We must organize the people, sister. Right. We freed ourselves from 400 years of slavery. And what? You think Harriet was sitting there worried about that? You think Ella Baker was sitting there confused?
Well, the thing I think I've learned, Aramis, and I kind of said this just a second ago, is that I think power and freedom mean different things to different people.
Oh,
and I just
in my book, I write it all the way down.
I've just realized, yes, I think that what those things mean to me are very different than what they mean to other folks who may be in the same positions, that may have the same level of privilege I have. But I think because of just my experiences, my politic, my principles, that these things mean something very different to each person.
Every person. And we are talking about overturning. When we were outside and saying the whole damn system is guilty as hell, this wasn't polite suggestions now. This was a conclusion of the African working class, the custodians, the people who are at your random job, who were out in the street with us in George Floyd or Trayvon Martin, or all of that. Was rebellions happening around the country, and that's what we were saying. There was but who was out there was your father, my uncles. That's who was out there. You know what I'm saying? It's not, the people who fly in and try to tell you, coerce you, or even pacify you about we have more work to do. No, we can do it now. You know what I'm saying? We're doing it right now. You know what I mean? And we're going to organize our people, period, because freedom is only a question of being able to reproduce and produce life, you see. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about politeness. We're not talking about equality. Equal to what? We're talking about power.
Civility.
Period.
We're not talking about that either.
I
said we're not talking about civility.
No,
either.
No, that struggle ended a long time ago. It's never changed since then. You see, they have this whole notion that we want to be equal to our oppressor. We want to perfect our oppression. You were out of your mind. You know what I'm saying? And our job is to not be coerced, not to be confused. See,
and not to be co-opted.
No. We are about the revolution, period. You know what I mean? We are about advancing the struggle of the African working class and oppressed people, period. We are about advancing our struggles since we first stepped foot in the Western Hemisphere. We are answering the philosophical and ideological questions that were left to us from the 60s. This is not, about most African people do not get radicalized over an election. We get radicalized by relations to the state. Go through our community right now. Ask them, how did you get familiar to your condition as African? The police, or someone got kidnapped off the block.
It's not elections where our expectations are already low, given historically what we've experienced.
And it's fine. You made your decisions to run. Fine. I ran campaigns. I know this is another thing too about my own personal leadership. You cannot tell me that my resume is not thorough. So it's I've ran campaigns. I've been in them. You know what I mean? I ran people for governor. I've been in the thick of it. I'm not over here from Ohio State, who read Marx yesterday and just said some slick shit. You know what I mean? This is real practice. So no, I'm not confused. We're not confused. I refuse to guide the people into a burning house. Then what type of leader would I be? I shouldn't even be here in PJP. They should remove me immediately once I start compromising. And I'll be just fine with that. You see what I'm saying? Because you can literally lead people into an unconscious place and they can't get right back out of it. You see? They rely on the ignorance of the masses. So when you talk about politicians or politics or whatever, like I'm friends with people who ran, and I'm cool. But we have positions. This is not debatable. You know what I mean? And you've known the organization long enough. You know how we get down. You know who we are. Mm-hmm. We never change. We just got more. The only thing we've changed, yes, we've gotten more seasoned and more experienced.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. See. And I think, for me, I obviously participate in the process.
Yes, we must.
And I have people on to inform the people because we are living in we're living in a system right now that elevates this two-party democracy that we're supposed to have. But I also think that if we don't look beyond that in terms of how do we get free, then we are going to continue to stay on the hamster wheel that we're on right now. What does that look like? So that's why there's many organizations like ours that exist.
We're not the only one. It's hundreds, thousands of us that exist in the lower 48. Don't get me started on Latin America. Like, we're just this big in the bigger scheme of things.
I know when you think about that, when you think about so many people who are engaged in this work. So when I told you, like, I have these feelings when I feel really sad and really in despair. But then when I think about that, like there's people working all over this world, right? And working towards the same things, essentially.
Same thing.
Right? Then I feel, I feel hopeful and optimistic. One last thing this isn't the last question, but this is close to the last question. In terms of Black working class folks in Columbus, what do you think is the biggest challenge that we're facing in this city? What's the thing? What's the thing that, like, you think about? And you're like, I need to work towards changing that thing.
Knowing that everything inside the political economy, referred to as capitalism, rests on the pedestal of African labor.
Yeah.
From the continent to the Western Hemisphere to wherever we're located. The entire political economy rests on the pedestal of our labor, period. So when you see certain organizations, for example, coerce our people, African working class people who are coming out of prison, that they are convicted felons and they go into an organization and they talk about, I'm a felon and they took these rights from me and all that, philosophical idealism. We're confronted with a situation where our people are being told to identify with their worst decision they made, or maybe not. Our job is to say, no. That is a colonial law based off of the political economy of your labor that is forcing you to identify with that. You're African. The felony charge is based off of laws, based off of the mode of production, the colonial mode of production.
And not only are you an African, but you're a human being.
Exactly. And so when you're confronting that, and our job is to inform the people, like, no, the whole thing rests on the pedestal of our labor.
And you exist outside of the things that you can produce.
Exactly. And so that's it, even to your father, right? The worst decision, he's incarcerated. My uncles were incarcerated, all that stuff, and they come out and they're just completely lost. And you have someone swoop in and say, no, you're a convicted felon. Let's go out here and, in collateral sanctions or something. And then they're going around telling their story all the time, constantly. Your identity is not that. You know what I mean? So so when we talk about African working class, that's the biggest thing that I wake up thinking about, because I see it all the time.
Yeah.
But the glorious thing, my dear sister, is that they're waking up to it. Because listen, you can't enslave a free person, and consciousness is consciousness. You're going to click at some point because someone will say the wrong thing to you based off of your culture. Our culture is freedom. Our culture is resistance. Mm-hmm. If you're coming out of the institution and you're entering into a phase of political consciousness in that journey, you are at some point going to see that contradiction and call it out. Mm-hmm. So I was on a call today with some of the homies up in Cleveland saying the same thing to me, like, yo, it's time. I knew you were going to get there. But like, that's the biggest thing that I confront with in our work. We're African people, especially those who were coming out of the colonial institutions known as prisons. The concentration camps are coming out confused, you see. That's it. That's what it is, but when it comes to just your regular Africans who are working at the regular job or whatever, it's easier to organize them because when they enter into revolution, they're like, oh, whoa. Then now you have to make a decision. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's easier with that. But people coming out of prison, it's so easy. It's like that. It's like, oh, come on. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so that's really what keeps me thinking about. That's why I always frame it that way. Since I got clear about like what we're actually doing. I took a 2-year hiatus, examined the conditions, wrote, went around and studied some stuff and went different places to see what it really was. Went back to my books and what is this, and that's when we came up with certain type of languages, removing ourselves from colonial language that defines us, no longer using terms like racism, no longer using terms of white supremacy, walking away from that, and saying like we can make our own terms.
I feel like we need another interview now because we have to.
Oh, sorry.
Talk about
word.
Because like now I want to ask you like what when you're replacing those words, what are you replacing them with?
Colonialism, that would be like slavery. That's it. Period. Because like when you say white supremacy, that presupposes that African people are consumed with the supremacy of whites. We're in the community organizing people. Point. You know what I mean? You go on the block right now, you say white supremacy, they'll think about Jerry Springer, some type of episode. This is real talk. This is coming from the people. I'm not making this up. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, okay, so you are thinking that we're consumed by this notion that they're supreme to us. Are you crazy?
That we're consumed by like white gaze.
Yeah, it's like, no, you keep it in the conversation. We remove it.
And that's just not true. When you think about that can't be true because Black folks have been the only people in this country to not assimilate.
Yes.
Right?
Period.
Because we're not obsessed with...
We have literally adopted to hostile conditions.
I mean, there are obviously like certain sects, I think, of Black people that are obsessed with how white folks view them, but by and large, that is just not the thing that we're creating.
Yeah, they're telling you that shit.
Innovating and
listen, the academy is telling people certain things that just ain't real outside in practice. It's like, ain't nobody talking about that out here.
Yeah,
you are. There, I'm gonna go there because you're just going to bring someone's name up, but there is a clear. I don't want to say brainwash, but there's a clear type of like influence that with the mode of production and also the bourgeois education you get, that you come out thinking that's what you're saying, they're really saying something. Mm-hmm. But you got to be very careful because if you are African and you're saying white supremacy and you're on MSNBC, you got to question that whole philosophy because white supremacy is the ideology inside of colonial mode of production. It's just the ideology. Mm-hmm. It's not what it is. Yeah. The colonial mode of production and colonialism are the institutions we are struggling with. So if a brother or sister was murdered by the police, materially that's the state. The state is the oppressive force. It's not white supremacy.
Right.
The state's repressive everywhere. Mm-hmm. It depends on whom is being repressed. I was in Cuba. They're there, but it's not the working class. It's the bourgeoisie. That's why they left. Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, get me out of here. So we remove some of that language and just keep it Black power, colonialism, slavery.
I mean, there is so much validity in the words that we're using.
Oh, yes.
Right. Or even just our obsession with certain words that we're using, right? Because I think also we have gotten to a place, I think, with certain words and phrases that sort of alienates people from engaging if they feel like they don't have the language or whatever. But that again is a whole nother conversation. But I want people, because this is a whole separate conversation.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I know you. So
I know you know me. This is the
I want people to know, one, where they can find y'all, right? Like
outside,
and how can they there? But like, I mean, online. Like,
no.
If they want to find you on like social media,
yeah.
If they want to engage,
yes.
If they want to start to work with y'all,
yes.
where and you have a physical space now, so literally, where can someone find you?
So
and where can they find you in the physical realm? Where can they find you on Beyonce's internet? And I had to say. Beyonce,
I know. There we go. Our dear sister. Well, the organization, by the grace of God, we have acquired a space. It's 1051 East Main Street.
Okay.
We call it the corner because it's on the corner of Ohio and Maine. And then, of course, you can follow us on all the platforms. I think our Instagram is at People's Justice. Facebook is at Ohio PJP, and Twitter, Ohio PJP. And you can also hit us up on the email if you want to get involved. Our website is www.ohiopjp.org. And there you can donate. You can see all the stuff we're doing. You'll see my beautiful mother on the cover, on the front page. You know what I'm saying? Like she came outside once, and that was my favorite part of my life right there. She came out, I want to come outside. And she came
that.
Yeah, but boom. And
she
so
used to
like
see full circle.
Yeah, it was beautiful seeing them. They were rocking the t-shirts and everything, and my mom got to see what we do. But yeah, so it's on the website, and if you want to email us at info at I don't know that one. I think
they have a website. If you just Google People's Justice Project,
you've Googled the org.
Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, you Google the org.
You will find the website.
Yeah.
You will find their social media, which they update regularly.
Under the leadership of Tanisha. She's our comms director, and she's freaking. She makes us look really cool. Yeah.
Well, and my last question is completely unrelated to, well, it's kind of related, but mostly unrelated. You said you stopped listening to hip hop in '94. Okay, that's what you told me when I came here. I've already mentioned my favorite capitalist, Beyonce, so we need to go down the music path.
Okay.
What is your favorite album
of all time?
Of all time.
Oh, hands down, Thriller. Stop playing with me.
Okay.
Yeah, come on now. It's a masterpiece.
What about your favorite rap album?
Hip hop album?
Hip-hop album.
Ooh, that's hard. Ooh, that's difficult. There's so many.
If you can't decide, give me 3.
Ooh, God, yeah. Well, that's difficult. So I would say like what is probably a masterpiece in my opinion, that front to back is just like beautifully done, is Miseducation by Lauryn Hill. Like
that one's good.
That's like a masterpiece of art.
But that was like 96.
I know, but let me be clear. 90s.
That's falling out of that.
I'm just saying, like you asked me,
because that was like one of my first albums.
Yeah, and then man, of course, Illmatic, top, front to back. You know, that speaks to the whole, and even like.
And Nas is still so good.
Oh, he's incredible.
He's like still feels like
you can't listen. Like there's certain dudes who just are. Right. And it's Nas. And then in one of my top albums, I listen to it, even at the gym, it's always Mobb Deep. But then one of my favorite records of all time that I constantly listen to since forever is this group out of Philly. The name is Jedi Mind Tricks.
Okay.
And the album is called Violent by Design. And that's a masterpiece. Like, if
you just put some people on to something.
Oh, Jedi Mind is
that they can find and listen to.
Yeah, Philly. Those guys are incredible. Army of the Pharaohs.
I mean, it's Philly. It's just a legacy.
Yeah, these guys are insane.
Great music, great rappers, great vocalists,
Just a
great
Law,
producers.
Vinny Pazienza, the whole.
Yeah.
I mean, Pharaoh Click. I listen to that religiously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this has been great because I feel like when people listen to this, they will get a good sense of who you are outside of when they just see you.
I hope it makes sense.
It made great sense. I think that this has definitely been one of the most academic interviews I've had. But it's great. I love it. No, don't be sorry. I love a good mental acrobatics. So it's good for me, but I also think it's good for people who are listening, because one of the reasons why we started this show, me and Malcolm, was to introduce people to political thought outside of, the mainstream of what they're seeing every day, right? We talked about media, right, in Columbus, and this is what I like to do.
Right on.
This is like why I do it. We go into this work with a certain idea of what we want to do and how we want to function, and then you get away with it. You get away from it. I know we have a little bit in terms of who I thought were always going to be our guests. And we now have, this plethora of people who come on the show. But I really started Columbus Can't Wait to really provide a platform for organizers. And so I think that people, even when they listen to this, they will just notice a little bit of a difference in just my own demeanor, because it just feels like this is why I started all this. So I'm just grateful for, it's such a critical time right now.
It really is.
And so I'm just grateful for you coming on and sharing.
I'm telling you, like, I know the whole organization is very honored that you asked. And I feel like I'm not kidding when I say, like, it was like, I remember many years ago we made the Alive paper. Like, we made it. We're on the Alive paper.
Yeah, I remember when we were on there. That was
you know what I mean? Like, I was like, yo, we really here.
That was dope.
And this was like one of the moments, like, yo, we really must be doing something, because they asked us to be on the show. And we've been examining your leadership all the way through since it first jumped off. And so, again, having Black voices and African voices speak on African issues, speak about African people, is so important, independent from the bourgeoisie. We have to tell the truth, how we understand in current history, and this is what this is. So again, we are thankful that you tapped us in, and you reminded me that I met you many years ago. That I didn't remember.
And you asked me what books I had on my show.
Yeah, whoops, my bad. We gotta make sure you straight, sister. You know what I mean?
Yes, and you did. You went over to my bookshelf and you're like, all right, you
cool.
Yeah, you got your mind right. So,
right on.
So it's just an honor, and won't be the last time.
I hope you gotta interview some other folks from the organization. Sure. I did see your doppelganger in Philly, though. I bugged out. I literally thought it was y'all too. I was like, yo, and I was like, wait, nah, they.
I feel like I have one of those faces where I look like whoever I'm like standing next to.
Yeah.
Like, I just look like a bunch of people, but I won't go down the list. We'll talk about that once we've cut. But yes, that does not surprise me.
It was. I had to text you, but yeah. So thank you again.
Of course, and thank you.
Hopefully did you justice.